there guys, how is it going? My name is Sumedh Chatterjee from the Flow Zone Academy, and I'm a flow state coach, which means that I help you feel better and perform better. Today I want to speak about simulation theory. Are we living in a simulation? I've constantly wondered this question, and even as I was writing my book, I got really interested in this idea of being watched, or this voyeur effect, where we fear being watched. You know, you can talk about it in different ways, different schools of thought. You know, the panopticon, you can go all the way into studying the scientific world and quantum theory. It's really an interesting concept. If you have ever heard of the double slit experiment, everybody likes to talk about this, right? So essentially, what it is photons are fired through this narrow slit, and when the camera's on it, when it's being watched, the photons shift, they change. It just goes to show you that when we observe something, it changes the thing that we are observing. When we're watching something, the photons are responding very differently. All right, so when we're making eye contact with another person, this is a photon exchange happening. How does that relate to simulation theory? Well, the simulation theory is this idea that we're living in a virtual reality, right? A simulation of some sort. Some people have this idea, but we can't know for sure because when you take into consideration the idea of infinity, it is infinite, meaning it's not countable. So we could very well be zoomed out or zoomed in a particular reality, right? A lot of different types of thoughts. Well, if we're a tiny molecule, this whole entire universe was a tiny molecule in another whole entire universe. Now, there's also something called the holographic principle or hologram theory. Basically, it's stating that we're living in a hologram, that we are just these light particles. Like, I am light. It's a kind of spiritual thing to say that, right? It's a very metaphysical thing to say, but it's actually maybe much more related to the physical that we don't know about, right? And it's a theory, it's about space-time. The holographic principle states that the entropy of ordinary mass, not just black holes, ordinary mass is proportional to the surface area and not the volume. So the volume itself is illusory. It's an illusion. And that the universe is really a hologram. Okay? So there's a boundary. It's more about the surface area, not the volume. What we perceive as three-dimensional reality is stored on a 2D surface. This includes time, which means that literally everything that we see, hear, experience is an illusion. A lot of the mystics talk about this. We're living in a waking dream. Maybe this is Inception. Maybe we're in a dream inside of a dream inside of a dream. Now, these are all thought experiments, mental masturbation, I know, but it's important to be able to perceive and think about deep, profound topics. Since the 1990s, some physicists have suggested that our reality is this 3D projection, like we're projectors. We're just projections on a 2D universe. Nowadays, we find that there is some evidence suggesting this. We're just living in a huge hologram, the size of a universe, an infinite hologram. Now, isn't that wild? What if dimensions existed? Interdimensional space travel is happening all the time around us, but we just cannot see it. I've been fascinated by this kind of stuff. When you start to notice things, you start to notice patterns in the world. When you're in the flow state, what happens is you start to get pattern recognition. So you start to notice that there's similar patterns happening here, 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 and here. And then you're able to create a system. It's almost like you're a scientist without actually having to do the data analysis and bringing it down. It's like you're just looking, you're using your observational skills to notice what signs and synchronicities are out there and merging them together. When we notice the unpredictability of the world, unpredictability is also a flow state trigger. Okay, unpredictability, complexity, novelty, all of these are flow state triggers. So the world is at an unpredictable phase right now, which means we're going also very into our flow state. Because we have that heightened awareness now that tells us like, okay, I can go here or I can go there. So when something is a simulation, it is made, it is created, and there are many systems in place. there's a political system, there's an ecological nature system, there is a caste system in India, there's a systematic way that architecture and buildings are approached. So there are all of these different styles of systems. What you want to do is create a system for yourself that you can actually rely upon. You see, sometimes we fall to the level of our systems. So if we don't have a great system in place, let's say we are in a simulation, but let's say that simulation doesn't serve us. The real question is, how can we shift the simulation towards our favor? How can we glitch it? How can we alter reality as we know it? Is it with our thoughts? Is that the programming software? Some people agree so, with different schools of thought. Is it that what we choose to do? Is it the actions that we take? Is it the emotions that we feel? Maybe it's all three together. How do we shift the universe on a mass level, on a grand scale? Is it through ideas? Because when you have one idea, it can formulate into something big. But you have to keep imagining it and thinking about it and taking action on it. Because once you stop doing that, it disappears. The image is gone. So the image, you've got to keep creating that image over and over again, causing something to exist over and over again, creating something over and over again. You think of artists like maybe Justin Timberlake. Like, is he making music nowadays? I don't know. He did a bunch of movies and stuff. I don't know. I haven't really been following up with him. What about T-Pain? You know, these artists, they're like, they come there and then they leave. It's like, you remember those songs, like, bartender, like, but then you forget, right? Because they've stopped creating. Or maybe I just haven't caught on. I'm not a fan, you know. But I know them. There's a lot of these one-hit wonders that just happen. It's like boom, boom, boom. But then the real fan base, if you think about a fan base, it's created based on those ideas and that constant creation. Like, take someone like Drake, where he's able to do it for a really, really long time. From acting on Degrassi to getting signed to Young Money and then, you know, doing his own thing with OVO, and it's just like he's taking it further. And also he's representing his country through his music. And so that's a powerful statement, right? And I want to use Drizzy as an example, but it's not necessary that you have to be a multi-platinum selling artist to be able to do that. Like, I still record hip hop. I don't know if I'm going to be a platinum selling artist, but I still love hip hop, right? I still love the culture. I still love the idea of lyricism and sampling and putting things together, being able to learn from style and culture, and that all is there within me. I've been rapping since I was 9 years old, right, guys? Ever since I was a small child, I watched 8 Mile, and there was a fire that lit up inside of me because I noticed that when I started to rap, it started to get me out of my head and more into my body again. And what I noticed is my articulation now in my videos is from years of practicing channeling lyrics through freestyle and just being able to get on a camera and speak like this. There is a superpower to being able to decide. And when you can decide, I believe we can shift this simulation to make the world a better place. When we can actually all decide and be like, yo, we have the best of intentions in mind. How can we avoid, this danger and fear-based mindset and this survival-based scarcity mindset of we don't have enough to go around? Because the thing we need right now, more than ever, is the abundance mindset. The abundance mindset that we have enough to go around, that there's more to this world, there's more resources, there's more opportunity, there's more engagement out there. But if we rely on things, I'm relying on technology to get there. I'm relying on this other thing which is external to me to get there. I'm relying on this endogenous substance to get there, right? When we start relying on things outside of ourselves and not this vessel, this brain, this gut, when we're taking it outside of ourselves, we're going to be scattered, which is equally important because, the internal world for a lot of artists and creators, when you feel a lot, it's like the internal world has a universe by itself, right? So it can be very, very overwhelming to feel that. But I want to remind you to be able to maintain that internal consistency with the harmony of your thinking, with the harmony of the way that you're carrying yourself and the way that you're moving about in the world. And using the little resistance and the conflict as adaptation to your storyline and seeing where can I install this particular behavior trait for my character. My book TPM is out there on Amazon right now, and there's a lot of reviews coming out. So I highly, highly recommend it. Please do check it out. It's amazing. I wouldn't just be saying that if it weren't so. I worked on this thing for like 4 years. Get it now, as soon as possible. Having said that, have an amazing rest of your day. There's something big that's about to happen. After the dark ages comes the golden ages. Let's hope for the best. Let's be optimistic right now. May the flow be with you and stay legendary. See you next time, guys.